Okay,
So,
the stage
thank
is yours.
you. So, it was great to actually follow up Sandra's presentation. And a few reasons. The first one is I came with the USB stick. So I saw a PC that didn't have any protection on it. I've been preparing presentations, sending emails and all that stuff. And I think there was a lot of good things about how we should be actually approaching the network security or information security in overall. I think there's a big problem that most of the organizations have not been actually realizing the changes that they are actually now seeing and actually experiencing. And I have an example. So I'm Janne Tägtström, Chief Technologist at the Finland and Baltics and in Cisco. But what I have most is I have 3 global customers that I'm working as an enterprise architect. And one of these customers, they were actually doing, and a senior security guy was doing a new investment. He wanted to buy new sexy firewalls, next generation firewalls. And he was not able to get the budget. And he was like, what actually can I do? And he changed all the next generation firewalls to cybersecurity threat defense project. And he said he can get any and all of the money because the upper management is understanding word cybersecurity. They might not actually understand what it means, what's inside of it, but they understand it's something that they need to be serious and they need to maybe invest money. And sometimes maybe that money is not well spent or rightfully spent actually by the techies, by the nerds, as we want to have the new toys in place. But my discussion today, and I'm hoping we have some clock here. Do we have any clock? Time? No, we don't have any time. So I'm trying to actually explain why we keep failing again and again and again. And I think the reasons are rather simple. And we can start with this one. This is, the world as we knew it. So I had a nice PC. I had some of my offices, my locations. I might have my own data center, or then I had some data center services from one of my providers. And everything was nice. I put firewall in places. I had my, PC, locked. I had the, local firewalls running on the PCs. I had my data storage, and I was actually the one that was managing those data years ago. But now we have seen a big change as we are starting to talk about that it's not about, one cloud, but it's actually most of the time that I'm discussing with the business, it's any device, any cloud. And actually a business is seeing a cloud as something which is magical. They are seeing that all of my problems, all of my challenges, all of my problems and money wasting that I'm spending on my own infrastructure, my own services, is going away because I'm actually buying a cloud service. And the same way what I'm seeing actually is I'm working at Cisco, and Cisco is not actually providing me any more mobile phone. I need to buy it by myself. I'm waiting a day that they are actually not providing me my laptop anymore, but they are saying, okay, Janne, you have your own laptops. You use them. You like them. And at the end of the day, what I'm seeing most of the time as we are losing a control of the devices, we are losing the control of the data, we are creating a lot of black holes. Because think about, if you have bought any type of cloud service, do you have your own security, your own policies in place on that cloud? No. I'm buying a service. I don't care even. I have not seen a single request from the customer that can I actually implement my own security policies in Azure? Can I implement them on the local service provider side? No. Most of the time, the only thing that we are actually doing is saying, I cannot dictate the provider how to secure my data. And that's something which I really do not understand. If you are buying a service, if you are buying an infrastructure, why you cannot dictate or mandate some of those security services. The same thing applies to the endpoints. Think about how many endpoints we have now in our organizations. I have my laptop. I can manage that one easily. Then I have my iPad. Nobody's actually managing that one. I have a lot of more and more devices which are connected to the network, and nobody's actually managing those ones. They are black holes. And one of the examples that I'm always telling, and I really cannot grasp the idea, think about how many times in your organizations you have had an infected PC or infected endpoint. And the only thing that we are actually doing is we are wiping it off and reinstalling all of the operating system and applications. That's the only thing that we're actually doing. It's like a black hole. It's, I don't care. I need to make it work. I don't care how it got infected. Where did it got infected? Did it actually spread something else? No. It's a black hole to me. The second one, as we saw, I have more and more different kind of devices. My data is in the cloud. I don't have perimeter. And most of the organizations are still relying and thinking, I have a great perimeter that I can actually defend. No, you don't. You have more and more actually collaborators within inside of your network. Your employees and your partners are actually outside of the networks. And still we are buying the next generation firewalls. We are trying to protect the perimeter. And we have lost it. And most of the organizations do not even realize that the security paradigm has changed quite significantly compared to what we had previously. And then I think my favorite topic. We have created so complex environment that we do not even understand what's going on within our own IT infrastructure. How we can protect something which we do not even understand by ourselves. The thing that we are actually trying to do then is we have the complex environment, we bring in the firewalls, we try to direct the traffic to go through these magical boxes that can then create security. But at the end of the day, what they are actually creating is more confusion, more slowness, and at the same time business is asking faster response times, faster new application, faster new services. So I think we have a lot of problems on our approach that we are actually trying to build security as of today. And these organizational silos, how many of you are actually from the networking side? Managing firewalls. How many of you are actually doing application security? Application services, data center services. How many of you are actually then managing, endpoints, PCs, all that stuff? And the funny part is most of the time what I'm seeing, these organizations are not talking to each other. They are making purchases, they are making investments, and they are building up the security solutions on their own. I have not seen an organization that's saying actually that, okay, I have built my security architecture based so that my endpoints, my network, and my cloud services are actually combined as a one. But always I'm buying, can I have the next generation firewall? Can I have vulnerability scanning on my endpoints? Can I have something? And people are actually buying them based their own requirements and based their own preferences. And at the same time, the whole approach of IT organizations, I think it's overdue. I think it's creating silos by themselves. Somebody's taking care of the network, somebody's taking care of the endpoints, and I think we need to change that one. And it doesn't really help that we have more and more different kind of people which are actually bringing their own solutions, applications, services, endpoints to the network and operations. And there's just more and more complexity, more and more actually owners, which are actually dictating different kind of things. And then, our solution, vendor solution to security problem is bring new products. bring more products. And I have seen an organization that has 66 different network security products in their environment. And still, they don't know what's going on. And I think that's not a right approach just to try to bring in new products, buy new products, because that's the thing that we should be actually doing. Because once again, we are just creating a lot of complexities, a lot of different type of operating system, a different type of policies, configurations, and different kind of user interfaces. So, what to do? I have 3 principles that I'm thinking that we should be actually exploring. The first one is identity. Identity-enabled network services, identity-enabled security. And not identity as a .1x authentication, but identity as I'm using this application on this location, and the service is actually identified on this cloud, for example. So a broad definition of identity. So I can actually make my policies based, okay, I want to have this type of identity accessing these application identity services. The second one is I want it to actually be visibility driven. I want to understand what's going on within my whole infrastructure, not just one firewall, not just my AV scanner, not just one location. I want to enable a visibility across the whole IT infrastructure. And then instead of trying to stop everything, I need to understand what's going on. Do I have data leakages? Do I have what kind of threats within my network services? So those 3 components across the whole stack. So not just endpoint, not just network, not just cloud, but across the whole stack. And what I'm doing with my customers now is I'm building up use case-based security services. So I'm thinking that I have, let's take a real-life example. I have an ordering system in one of my customers. And we've been defining that application, that service is that critical to that customer that they want to host it by themselves. The service can be actually accessed through the network services on their own office locations, and it needs to be used by this type of endpoint with this type of security enabled. And we are now mapping up the whole use case-based security then. Not just I'm buying a firewall, not that I'm actually managing the endpoint, but we are actually trying to map the whole use case and build the security on top of that one. Then I have another services that are actually internet-based. Those are not critical services. They are like, time tracking, that kind of stuff. And what I can actually do, I can use any device and any location to access that type of services. So once again, build a use case-based scenarios and don't build 150 or 550 or 4,064 of them. Build maybe 10 or 20 different kind of scenarios, how you want your users to access the data in different locations. So, simplify, build something that you can actually repeat. Don't make it based on the technologies. Build it always cross technology stack. Try to actually build something that is open, and you don't manage actually a single policies or single devices, but you have a cross use case policies, and then you have a visibility across the whole stack of those services. So how to get there? I know everybody's actually buying firewalls, everybody's buying IDS devices, I'm buying different kind of other security products. But what I have seen actually on my customer side is that most of these organizations that are actually global, great organizations, they don't actually have anything else than products. Simple products that they are actually buying. I have different kind of, budget times, I have different kind of devices in my environment, so I'm buying these different boxes in different time. And this is how most of the organizations are operating today. Nobody's actually thinking at all how these are connected, how these can actually bring value together, but we are actually buying just technology products and technology solutions. Vision. When I'm going to meet up with CTOs or CIOs, I'm asking, what is your IT infrastructure or your security vision? Most of the time, they are not able to answer to me. And that's like a scary thought. If you don't have a vision, what kind of environment you are actually building up? And then what you can actually do is when you have a vision, you can build up these different kind of use case documentations and use cases. You build up the reference designs within those use cases. And of course, you need to, over time, with regards to the requirements, with regards to, operations, you might need to, and you will update your use case and the reference designs. But at the same time, what you are doing is you are building up releases that are actually capable of supporting your different operations when you are actually going and moving across your vision. And that's like a simple approach how you can actually start to build up your next generation security architecture, next generation security policies, and next generation security architecture. So, as I said, at the end of the day, do not go and buy products. Do not just go and buy a single, next generation firewall or IPS device, but start thinking about the vision that you want to head. Think about how you build up the actual architecture. Create identity and visibility. And of course, automation so that we don't do only manual labor as we are doing today. So, from left-hand side to right-hand side, use case-based security, something that is understandable, something that is end-to-end, not just, a mess of, wires and products and a complexity, what we have now. So, any questions? I'm trying to end up it shortly.
No, you are in time. It's perfect. Now, are there really not any questions? I have at least 3. I'm sorry. But since we have really a couple of minutes, so I think I can ask those. So imagine you spoke about identity of these separate systems and separate devices, and you spoke about use cases and
yes.
how to manage that. Now, do I need you are familiar with the concept, the software-defined network. Do I need that in place to do those policies?
So,
This is more...
I'm a big fan of automation.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of software-defined networking. But I think those are the same thing. Those are just, way of actually doing some kind of, automation or automated configuration. But, it can be simple. These applications that I'm actually building up on the let's say, on the cloud. Mm-hmm. These can be accessed either through my own, network infrastructure, or they can be accessed through any network infrastructure. It can be simple. You don't need to actually build up everything as SDN, or you don't need to renew all of your network element security products, but start to think about simple use cases.
Yeah, but companies, if they implement this monitoring, they usually do it on a full scale. So
I think that's a mistake. Most of the organizations are not ready of changing from one step, which is today, a siloed organizations,
yeah.
A low level of automation, not really good visibility. They cannot move from one step to this fully automated, cloud-enabled...
Not fully automated, but fully monitored. I mean, they can do that stuff. It's another
steps.
thing. What do you do with this
yes.
data? How do you find anomalies and how do you come up with the new strategies, come up with the new scenarios. You have to see what's going on.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Because, well, imagine the situation that, yes, we are reviewing our infrastructure and we see that, yes, one of our key elements, which is for some reason important, maybe programmed tens of years ago, but it's still very important. We're not actually sure up to the end what kind of protocols does it use, what happens if we touch it,
yeah.
what's going to be impacted, and so on. So we are very not like revolutionary about touching it
Yes.
and changing it, and so only thing we can do is maybe monitor it and lock it somehow and limit some access, and that's about it. How to include such things? For example, if we are talking about banking sector or finance sector, this insurance sector, they sometimes really have some of the systems which are really not up to date, and they are very conservative about
fully
that.
Understand.
Now, how do you protect this that you don't actually have absolute knowledge of?
So most of the organizations do not have great knowledge about the firewall rules, what are allowed, what kind of applications are actually run. What I'm saying to them is we need to start building up these releases. So I'm bringing in some kind of, technological capabilities, but I think more important is something that I'm then adding up additional benefits. So let's say I have a unique application on my banking databases or banking data center. So I might not want to actually bring in, updates, upgrades, all that stuff. I don't maybe want to change too many things. So one thing that you can actually do is start monitoring what kind of flows it actually creates. So that might be the first step. The second step might be something that, okay, I want to enforce something based on those data flows and that kind of stuff. So take small steps. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the time we are making a mistake on that one, that we are trying to move too fast from one thing to another one. And then we are actually saying, okay, too much work, too much money, I will not do anything. And then we are, after, as Sandra said, she's been working on 20 years on industry, the same things we repeat again and repeat again and repeat again. So take small steps, take baby steps.
Yeah, but I can also, let us say, software clone it to some newer environment to make it sandbox it in its own environment, but all of the other, how to call it, circle around it is the new software layer, is the new monitoring layer. So it can still live in its own infrastructure, absolutely, in software-based environment.
Segmentation or software-based, but if you wanted to start to do sandboxing, you need to know the application really well.
Yeah,
so you don't do that for 25-year-old banking system, because
I can just try to replicate an environment, make a separate branch up, limit some connections, and just see what it does.
Yeah.
So we can poke and kick
but I wouldn't
the
be
copy.
I wouldn't be too concerned about that one. And I think one question to audience is, of course, do you know what devices are connected to your network now? One guy knows, two guys maybe knows. Most of the organizations do not know even what kind of devices are connected to my network. So I think we need to start building up the principalities and principles from the bottom up. Because if I don't even know what are the devices, services on my network, how can I secure some of those ones? And I have an example. I was working with a hospital in Finland, and they said to me, okay, we have this patient data in one of my databases, and it was actually hacked. And the simple reason was that there was actually the same VLAN was across the whole, hospital area. So it's like a simple thing to do is to do the segmentation, for example.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that was my idea, but I'm not as technical, so I cannot explain those abbreviation words and so on. Right. Okay. Let us thank Janne. Maybe somebody else has a question, since we already have a couple of minutes. Yes, please.
key thing. Education is the key thing that we can actually enable. But the problem with most of the organization is they have these, somebody writes policy, and then they actually distribute that policy to everybody in their organization, and nobody's actually then training people to understand why this type of policy or policy change is put in place. So they continue to work the same way as we have done previously. And we repeat the mistakes again and again and again. So yes, key thing.
Thank you.
Okay, another one? Good. I think then let us thank Janne.
Yeah,
a
thank
nice
you.
applause. And Janne, by the way, I have as well a nice and small souvenir for you.
Beautiful.
To keep you home from the great and beautiful Latvia. Thank you very much for participating. This is a thank you from the organizers.